When I was a kid growing up in the late 80s and early 90s, I loved dinosaurs. My first experience to any kind of dinosaur media was with The Land Before Time, the classic Don Bluth film from 1988.
Who's this? Dinosaurs? Excuse me.
I loved Littlefoot. I feel like Littlefoot, along with Mickey Mouse, was like one of my best friends when I was a small child. But this cutesy animated cartoon image of dinosaurs would pretty much completely vanish when my mom and dad took me to the movie theaters one summer day in 1993 to experience Jurassic Park. In this video, I'm going to relive all of the nostalgia of 1990s Jurassic Park mania and the video games based on the film that rocked our world.
Show me!
First, a word from this video's sponsor, Magic Spoon. Growing up, cereal wasn't just breakfast, it was the event. Saturday mornings, cartoons on the tube, a big colorful bowl in my lap. It was pure magic. And let's be real, that stuff we ate back then, full of sugar. Not exactly the fuel we need now. That's why I've been loving Magic Spoon. They've taken that same nostalgic flavor and fun and powered it up for grown-ups like me. Their new granola has 13 grams of protein and 0 added sugar. And these crispy treats? 11 to 12 grams of protein, only 1 gram of sugar, and no sticky mess. It's the perfect snack for editing sessions, filming days, or chasing my kids around. Use my code MyRetroLife or head to magicspoon.com/MyRetroLife and grab $5 off your next order. There's even a 100% happiness guarantee. You've got nothing to lose, except that sugar crash. It's so hard to explain to younger people just how amazing Jurassic Park was in the theater.
The hottest ticket in the Bay Area, Jurassic Park, has arrived. From the looks of it, you'll be lucky to get in to see it this weekend. People are lining up all across America to catch the hot new summer movie from Steven Spielberg.
My mom and dad took me to the movie theaters one summer day in 1993 to experience Jurassic Park. I think I sat in the movie theater with my jaw dropped pretty much the entire film. And I can remember sitting right next to my dad and just really experiencing this film with him. My dad, having grown up with incredible dinosaur movies like The Land That Time Forgot or The Valley of Gowanji, back then it was all cheap-looking puppeteering and clay models. That was the best we had. Jurassic Park just blew our minds.
Christine doesn't want to see Jurassic Park because they didn't give Barney a role.
I left that theater not just terrified, I left that theater obsessed.
People, especially kids, like dinosaurs.
Jurassic Park was our generation's new obsession, and along with the movie came the video games.
Imagine you wake up in Jurassic Park and you're a raptor. You have sharp teeth and 7-inch claws, and since you've been extinct for 65 million years, you'd be in a really bad mood.
Now, the first Jurassic Park video game I ever experienced was the Sega Genesis Jurassic Park game. Immediately when you turn on your Sega Genesis, you are greeted by the T-Rex stomping onto the screen with the Sega logo. That was so amazing when we were kids. When a video game interacted with the Sega logo, it was always so much fun. And it just told you that there was some care and thought immediately going into this game. I mean, I think Sega knew that they had a killer property on their hands, and they wanted to do it justice. And Blue Sky, they knocked it out of the Jurassic Park. The real meat of the game is really found in the Alan Grant playthrough. It's just so cool. You have that little opening cinematic with the lightning and the T-Rex representing that T-Rex scene, so iconic from the film. And there you are, Grant, lying on the ground with the crashed Jeep right next to him, that iconic Jurassic Park Jeep. And you get up and you're thrown into Jurassic Park. You're in the thick of it. You're in the jungle. The animation of that Triceratops, falling asleep from all the darts it just received from you, just popping it full of darts and watching it fall asleep. That was so great. I loved doing that. Like, that was very satisfying. Back in 1993, 1994, when you first played this game, it looked phenomenal. And just, going through that first stage, making all the runs and jumps and leaps and there's so many leaps of faith, but you land on vines, they bounce you around, they slide you down left and right. The pterodactyls you knock down out of the sky almost like a space shooter. I mean, this was a very engaging first stage, and it only got better from there. I remember friends of mine coming over to the house and experiencing this game along with me. My friend Albert came over and we loved Jurassic Park. I mean, guys, it was the hottest thing, and being able to show off the Sega Genesis game that summer, oh man, it was so much fun.
With the man can have all these weapons and throw and stuff. But the dinosaur, you don't have any weapons. We're gonna put dinosaur again. Also continue because he can learn.
It was a way to carry on with your Jurassic Park fandom in such a great immersive way. And it really didn't end there with the Genesis game, guys. There were so many Jurassic Park games that came out because of how huge this movie was that, they were milking it for everything. And it felt like every video game console back then got its own version of Jurassic Park. You had the Sega Genesis game, but then there was a completely different game on the Super Nintendo developed by Ocean Software. And this was a pretty good game in its own right, too. It kind of felt like Jurassic Park meets The Legend of Zelda with its top-down perspective and sort of open world, open map feel. You could explore around this big environment, and it definitely gave off major Zelda vibes. Even going as far as having dungeons, just like in Zelda, where you kind of enter the dungeons. You enter into this first-person mode in the game, utilizing the Super Nintendo's Mode 7 effects, and this was so cool. We didn't own the Super Nintendo game, but I definitely had my fair share of time with it. And I always wanted to get to these first-person perspective segments. They were so much fun. And we lived for great graphics like this and what the new technology was pushing. The game was really difficult for me, though. Maybe I'm alone in this, but I had a really hard time figuring out what to do. I felt like, for the most part, I was just exploring around and just having a fun time exploring, but I felt it was so difficult. And it used to freak me out whenever I would encounter the T-Rex, because it was like, if you're not prepared, game over, man. That T-Rex is going to chomp you up. I still preferred the Sega Genesis game. I think the Sega Genesis one played a little bit better. But it didn't end with the home console games for Jurassic Park. No, if you found yourself at a local arcade or perhaps a Chuck E. Cheese like I did back in these days, you would encounter Jurassic Park, the arcade game, an incredible sprite-based light gun shooter by Sega and their arcade division. I feel like people forget about this one because you couldn't own it, but my gosh, guys, this was like the one you hoped to encounter at any arcade you went to those days. This was one of the best looking arcade games with its amazing sprite scaling. If you were able to play this game where you sit inside the Jeep and experience like the shaking and the hydraulics, oh my gosh, this was such an experience in the arcades. And oh, I just loved it. I remember the first time I encountered it with Dad. It was at a Chuck E. Cheese. And sometimes we would go to Chuck E. Cheese just to see what arcade games they had, because Chuck E. Cheese would often get in arcade games and we could care less about the pizza, man. Like the pizza at Chuck E. Cheese was awful. It was so bad. But we loved the games, and experiencing those arcade games with Dad was so much fun. It was the most expensive arcade game we ever saw. I want to say it cost 75 cents to $1 just to play this. And back then, typically it was 25 to 50 cents. But this one was premium. And because of it, we knew we were in for something special. Now, guys, I've been gushing quite a bit about these Jurassic Park games thus far. And look, I'm not wearing any rose-tinted glasses. These games were legit great games, but they weren't all created equal. No. Like I said, there were so many Jurassic Park games that came out back then. Some of them were just downright terrible. And that's where I want to take us next. I want to tell you about Jurassic Park on the Sega CD. This game was developed by Sega Multimedia Studio, which was an internal Sega division in the early 1990s focused on developing full-motion video games. Yeah, gotta love those.
We were worried when our telemetry showed that your helicopter crashed. But as long as you're not hurt, keep going.
It's sort of like a point-and-click adventure game, not unlike Myst or Return to Zork, these PC point-and-click adventures that were kind of in the first-person perspective. And those were really popular. Now, full-motion video was all the rage back then, and they wanted to include it. So everywhere you point and click and everywhere you go on the menus, there's always these little moments of full-motion video.
T-Rex had armor-piercing teeth. It could crack a Triceratops' neck in one bite.
It's incredibly cheesy. Oh my gosh. I remember us having a hard time figuring out what to do and where to go, and eventually we figured it out, and I remember we had some fun. There's even some moments where you can kind of have sort of a shooting segment where you're having to zap the dinosaurs and escape. And there are some action moments in the game, but for the most part, it's very, very slow, very boring. Overall, the Sega CD game was quite a letdown. But the Sega CD version of Jurassic Park looks like a masterpiece when compared to the 3DO version. Oh my gosh, Jurassic Park came out on the 3DO, and let me just stress this. We had time with this game on 3DO, and it was some of the most wasted time. This game is not worth the ink that's printed on the CD. Like, seriously, a bunch of terrible shareware-looking mini games thrown together with these terrible full-motion video moments. It feels more like an interactive PC demo than any kind of real game with any sort of real weight to it. It just feels like a cheap PC game back then that you'd find at Walmart. There was so much shovelware and stuff that came out back then on PC, and this feels like it. And there was, of course, the novelty of seeing, full motion video, and it's kind of funny seeing people reenact the characters so badly from the film. But yeah, it's definitely a game to laugh at with a bunch of buddies, get together and just, you play this game just to watch a train wreck. We would make ourselves play these games, even the terrible ones, because we were just so obsessed with A, this movie, and B, the technology. And then after the initial sort of wave of Jurassic Park games came out based on the first film, we didn't know what else to expect. We were eagerly anticipating a new movie, but that was still several years off. In the meantime, though, there was kind of an open door for some new video games to come out. And that's where we got some really interesting entries for the world of Jurassic Park. Specifically, Jurassic Park 2, The Chaos Continues. When this game came out on the Super Nintendo, there was so much hype around it because it was like, wait a second, there is no Jurassic Park 2 movie yet. The Lost World hadn't come out yet. It was several years off. And so it was like the Super Nintendo was offering up a Jurassic Park sequel in the form of this game, and we had to check it out. And I remember I played this game at a friend's house. His name was Philip, and he lived in my cul-de-sac when I was a kid. Philip was the one I played Jurassic Park 2, The Chaos Continues with. He bought the game, his parents bought him the game, and I remember going over to his house and him having it, and me being very excited to check it out. I remember playing this and really thinking it was really cool, like, oh man, they're nailing this, this is really enjoyable. And then you get to the end of that first screen and it dead ends. And you're like, where do I go? What do I do? It took me forever to figure out that you had to stand in this particular spot right here and push up on the control pad. And I'm sure a lot of people ran into this problem just like I did. And the game is really cool, I gotta give this game mad props for trying something new and further expanding the mythos that was this world of Jurassic Park. In a time before the second movie was out, this was all we had to get, some extra Jurassic Park action. And the fans wanted more. That's right. Sega decided to pull a page out of Ocean's book and make their own sequel to Jurassic Park. And that's where Jurassic Park Rampage Edition comes in. If you thought the original Jurassic Park game on the Sega Genesis was great, and maybe you didn't like how it was a little slow and hard to control at times, a little clunky, they refined that so much, and what we have here feels like a true run and gun with some wild moments. I mean, everything is out to kill you in this game. You play as Alan Grant or the Raptor once again, and you've got more firepower this time. Really, it lived up to the Rampage Edition title. There was some confusion when this game first came out. I remember thinking, is this like a special edition of the Jurassic Park game on Sega Genesis? That's usually when you see Jurassic Park Rampage Edition, you kind of think that it's just maybe like a beefed up special edition or director's cut of the other game, the original game. But no, I was super surprised to learn that this was just a new sequel to that game. And Blue Sky, once again, delivers. I mean, they are the same development team that went on to do Vector Man, so it makes sense. The game is very difficult. I always had a hard time playing this game, and I don't think I ever beat it as Grant. And there are some segments in this game that got a little confusing for me as a kid, but it's totally worth your time. By the time the second movie came out, a lot of the magic had kind of died down with Jurassic Park for me. And really, a lot of that had to do with the fact that the movie, The Lost World, was sort of a letdown. I remember Dad feeling the same way too. The movie just didn't have the same magic as the first film. That original film was where it was at. That's where I first fell in love with this movie and this franchise, and really nothing ever could top the experience of not just seeing that movie in the theater and how incredible it was and just how groundbreaking it was, the phenomenon surrounding it and the word of mouth, the shared cultural event that was the original Jurassic Park has never been topped ever since. And sure, we still have Jurassic Park movies that come out these days, but nothing will ever come close to that original film and that original batch of games that came out. For me, that's where all the magic still lies. Jurassic Park is a franchise that has such a permanent place in my heart because of what that film did for me and my senses when I was a kid. Like, it just rocked my world, and I'm sure it did the same for a lot of you. I want to thank you all for watching today. If this is your first time to the channel, do consider subscribing. I love talking about my game crazy family and all the amazing adventures with video games, so many of which were caught on tape by Dad. Hey, that's it, guys. I'll catch you next time.